News every 15 minutes, weather every 10, and sports twice an hour.
Newstalk, KGVO, AM 1290 and 101.5 FM.
You're listening to Montana Morning with Peter Christian.
Stabbings being investigated across the state. Good morning, everyone. This is Montana Morning for your Monday, May 23rd, 2016. A little light rain falling in Missoula right now. We have 44 degrees. And our newscast this morning is sponsored by the Mustard Seed Asian Cafe in Southgate Mall. This morning's top story, the Missoula County Sheriff's Office responded to a stabbing that occurred Friday morning near Seeley Lake. Missoula County Sheriff's Office Public Information Officer Brenda Bassett was in Seeley Lake and gave this report to our John King.
This morning at 8:45, the homeowner of a residence on Highway 83 North called 911 to report that there had been an altercation at his home. The initial investigation indicates that a male arrived at the scene early this morning to confront the homeowner about a civil issue.
The visitor was called, from Helena. The altercation appears to have quickly escalated into violence.
It was reported that he pushed his way through the door and an altercation ensued. The man who arrived came into the home, was stabbed multiple times. He was able to make his way into a local business. 911 was contacted again to let them know that he was there. An ambulance picked him up and transported him to St. Patrick Hospital.
The victim is 59 years old, the homeowner 53. Investigators had to wait until the man received medical attention at the hospital before being able to continue that investigation. Authorities are now looking for a suspect who stabbed a man multiple times and left the victim wounded in an alley in Billings. The Billings Gazette reports police say officers had responded early Sunday morning to find a 34-year-old man in the alley behind a residence with 4 stab wounds. He was taken to a hospital with injuries that were not life-threatening. Police say a witness told them the stabbing followed an altercation between the victim and an 18-year-old man at a residence. No arrests have yet been made. The incident still under investigation. A Texas woman has died in a Yellowstone National Park accident when she was struck by a vehicle while trying to cross a road to watch an eagle. Yellowstone spokeswoman Charissa Reed said the 47-year-old woman was struck and killed on the West Entrance Road about 2 miles inside the park shortly before 8 o'clock last Wednesday morning. Reed said the woman was visiting the park with friends. She said the woman apparently was crossing the road to look at an eagle when she was struck by a vehicle coming out of the park. Reed said authorities are not releasing the woman's name or hometown because the investigation is ongoing. Reed said pedestrian fatalities are rare in Yellowstone. Late Friday afternoon, the Idaho County Sheriff's Office was notified of a body at the Clearwater River at the dike in Stites. Deputies responded to the location and recovered the body of 64-year-old Burke Despain of Kalispell. Despain had been reported missing April 9th, as we reported, in the area Highway 14, milepost 21. Idaho County Sheriff Doug Giddings has more.
He fell into the river sometime in the night. We don't know when. He was asleep in a camper with his son, and he got up unknowingly and ended up in the river. What happens is with the temperature and the gases, and you put all the biological and physiological and all that stuff together, they come up and float, and that's when we find them. And he floated about 31 miles or so.
Giddings said the Clearwater River was running high and fast at the time Despain fell in and drowned.
We'll always be prepared for bad weather, but as far as in the river, he didn't go in the river willingly. We believe that he slipped and fell in. It's a rough area right there.
The victim was taken to a local funeral home, and his family was notified. Giddings said his office had been in close contact with the Despain's family since he was reported missing over a month ago. The Montana Board of Regents and Commissioner of Higher Education are raising concerns about maintenance on public campuses. The Missoulian newspaper reports total deferred maintenance costs are an estimated $40 million, just counting projects already identified as priorities. Commissioner Clay Christian said the music building at the University of Montana is high on the list. It serves twice as many students as it was designed to handle. It needs an estimated $14.5 million work. Montana Junior Senator Steve Daines was in Missoula Saturday morning to speak to a gathering of the Montana Loggers Association over at the Holiday Inn downtown. Daines said that the federal government continues its dismal performance in managing forest lands in the West and gave this example of a meeting he had at Tricon Timber.
They're bringing logs in from over 600 miles away, and you're sitting there having a meeting at the mill surrounded by thousands of acres of good timber, and we can't even harvest it. That's a tragedy.
Dane said the one point that anti-logging and anti-development groups forget is that trees will grow back.
We have these extreme environmental groups who are filing lawsuits preventing us from timber harvest. And who loses when that happens? Well, first, the taxpayer loses because oftentimes we're funding those environmentalists in their lawsuits. Number two, we lose in terms of jobs and the taxes that are generated for our counties, for our schools, and our infrastructure.
Daines did offer some hope, though, in breaking through the morass of federal bureaucracy that controls federal forest lands.
There is hope, and that's what we're fighting for right now. In fact, I just got an update from my staff last night from the Energy and Resources Committee that there's progress being made, and I'm looking forward to just continue to push that ball forward here next week in Washington.
Senator Daines was also in Ronan for an appearance Saturday afternoon. A federal judge in Vermont has rejected Montana tribal officials' attempt to shut down a lawsuit against its online payday lending company by claiming sovereign immunity. District Judge Jeffrey Crawford ruled Wednesday that two women's lawsuits against Chippewa Cree tribal officials and their non-Native American partners can proceed. Jessica Gingras and Angela Given claim the tribe's company, Plain Green, conspired with Fort Worth, Texas-based Think Finance in a predatory lending scheme designed to defraud poor people. Plain Green makes short-term high-interest loans over the Internet. Company leaders asked Crawford to dismiss the lawsuit, saying they have immunity as an arm of a sovereign Native American tribe. Crawford ruled they can be sued in Vermont because the bulk of the lending activities take place outside the Rocky Boys Reservation. Well, the 2016 spring fishing season is underway in Montana, and with it, stand by, I'll get to that phone call in a moment. And with it, nearly $1 billion in revenue for Montana. Education coordinator for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks, Ron Oshheim, said fishing is an enormous part of the tourism and recreation industry in Montana.
We'll have over 420,000 anglers fish in Montana this year. Interesting to me, Montana, as we all know, is a special place. On those rivers and streams that they'll fish, they'll spend almost 3.5 million days. They'll spend almost $907 million, almost $1 billion.
Oshheim said costs of fishing licenses have gone up modestly due to action by past legislative sessions, and that the licenses are available at any sporting goods store or through more modern technology.
Those that are interested, you can actually have your license on a smartphone now. And that's all listed on our website, too, how you go about doing that. So if you happen to forget your license at home and you have your smartphone with you, you can show a game warden if you get checked, and technology advances.
Oshheim said anyone who witnesses illegal activity should call Fish, Wildlife, and Parks tip line at 1-800-TIP-MONT. And finally, a judge will hear arguments next week on whether he should stay a portion of his ruling on Montana's campaign contribution limits that would allow political parties to make unlimited donations to candidates. District Judge Charles Lovell set a hearing on the Montana Department of Justice's motion for tomorrow, just 2 weeks before the June 7th primary elections. Lovell ruled last week that the campaign contribution limits approved by the Montana voters in 1994 are unconstitutionally low. State officials reverted to pre-1994 limits for individual donors and political committees, but said they could not do the same for political parties because the 1994 initiative actually increased the amount parties could contribute. State officials say that means there are no limits on the amount that parties can donate, and the loophole must be closed. Our Newstalk time, 6:13.
Newstalk, KGVO.
Missoula's official weather station.
Unsettled weather is expected this week with the daily threat of showers. Temperatures will be in the low 50s today, with their highs warming into the mid to upper 60s by the end of the work week. I'm meteorologist Brooke Foster for Missoula's KECI 13.